Some time back, I decided to do a rear axle modification on my 48 Ford. I found this independent rear suspension out of a Thunderbird 89 model with a 7.5-inch ring gear, and I decided I would fit it in the car. So I got to do some measuring, and I made some brackets from a pattern I got off of a website, and I pondered it and thought about it, and finally one day I decided I would just take the rear end out of the car. Yeah, I took it out. I tossed it aside. And then I thought about it some more. I can still put it back in there. Then I thought again, well, no. I'll go ahead and take the exhaust out, make room for it. And then I cut the cross member out of it that the original spring set and shocks were mounted to, and then I had to take the gas tank out. I figured, well, I'll put some other kind of tank in it later, like maybe one of these aluminum tanks. And I put the Thunderbird rear in there, kind of set it up in there and strapped it in with some high straps, and started making some bracketry. I first made the, I sized it up in the front, and I made a bracket for the rear for the spring to sit in, and some gussets. Yeah, it was tough. Made some little cardboard patterns and got out the torch. I cut out the pattern on the steel, and it was a pretty raggedy little cut. You know, I had to do it a couple of times, and finally I decided I'd mark it off a fine line and take it to the grinder. Ground it all down nice and smooth and slick, and then welded it in. And I built some brackets for the front mounting pads. Had to block it in and get it all where I wanted it, measure it right. And it looks like all I had to do is build me a little triangle shaped bracket. But first I had to make me a new cup. I had lost one of the big washers that hold the bushings in. So I cut that out. It didn't take very long. Then I built a little triangle shaped pad to mount the front part of it. So set it up in there where I wanted it, shuffled it around. These are just some pictures of it in there. Had to use quite a few jack stands and such as that. The drive shaft fit well. I went over to a friend's house. He had a Lincoln that he took the rear end out of. Got some ideas how the part brake went, because I had forgotten. It had been so long since I took it out of the car and put it in mine, I didn't remember how the bracketry went. I studied on the shocks for a long time. I decided, instead of using some kind of cantilever thing, the problem is my frame was in the way of the original shock mounts. But I eventually just built me some little brackets to the outside and angled the shocks out a little bit. But these were some interesting ideas I found on the internet. Mainly used for 4x4s. And even some antique stuff. I started thinking about using that. I did have a little problem re-drilling the hubs, but I found this little bracket setup that worked well. And it set in there pretty nice. Nice wide track. I was very happy with the tracking. And I found these Magstar wheels for $200 for the whole set. Cleaned them all up, put some new tires on it, and I was on my way. I appreciate you guys watching my videos. It amazes me that you keep coming back. Thank you very much.